In the early hours of the 24th of November 2004, a 4-year-old man named Glenn William Sheridan vanished from the Carnival Celebration, a cruise ship returning from a 5-day voyage to the Bahamas. Sheridan, a resident of Williamsburg, Virginia, had boarded the vessel with his wife Gloria for what was intended as a relaxing escape. He was described as 5 feet 7 inches tall, approximately 170 pounds, with graying hair, bright blue eyes, and a fit build. He was known to be a capable swimmer and an early riser who enjoyed starting his day with coffee on deck. The couple retired to their cabin around 1:30 a.m. that morning. Gloria fell asleep. When she awoke at 7 a.m., the bed beside her was empty. There was no sign of her husband, no note, no indication of distress, no items out of place. She searched the cabin, then the surrounding corridors, her concern mounting with each passing minute. By the time the ship docked in Jacksonville, Florida later that morning, she reported him missing to the crew. Carnival records from the time indicated that Sheridan's keycard had shown no activity after he returned to the cabin the previous night, and electronic logs confirmed he had not disembarked once the vessel reached port. A thorough search of the entire ship followed. Every deck, every public space, every lifeboat compartment was checked by crew members. Nothing turned up. No discarded clothing, no evidence of a struggle, no security footage from that era capturing any unusual movement. The ship, carrying more than 2,000 passengers and crew, had become the site of an inexplicable absence. The U.S. Coast Guard responded swiftly. Helicopters and vessels scoured an area covering roughly 350 square miles of ocean off the northeast Florida coast, along with sections of the St. Johns River. Officials estimated that if Sheridan had gone overboard, it could have occurred as early as 4 a.m., when the ship was approximately 13 miles offshore. The water temperature was moderate, offering a reasonable window for survival if he had remained conscious and able to stay afloat. Yet after more than 25 hours of intensive searching, no trace was found, no life vest, no personal effects, no body. The operation was suspended, leaving the case unresolved. Investigators considered the primary explanations that surface in most cruise disappearances. An accidental fall from a balcony seemed plausible. The Celebration, like many ships of its generation, had railings that were not as high or reinforced as those on modern vessels. Perhaps Sheridan had stepped outside for air in the quiet hours, lost his balance after a drink from the evening, and slipped into the sea without raising an alarm. Yet he was a strong swimmer, and no one on nearby decks reported hearing cries for help or seeing anything unusual during the overnight period when most passengers were asleep. Suicide was another avenue explored. There was no documented history of mental health struggles, and Gloria maintained that her husband had shown no signs of despair. He had appeared content, even looking forward to the cruise and life beyond it. No farewell message was left behind. No behavioral red flags noted by those who knew him. The possibility of foul play lingered as well, though evidence remained absent. The ship was lively with late-night activities, parties, casinos, bars operating into the small hours. Could someone have encountered him in a secluded area? Could an altercation have occurred without witnesses? The FBI and local authorities became involved, but without a crime scene, a body, or forensic leads, the investigation stalled. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office classified the case as lost, injured, missing, a designation that persists to this day on public records and databases like the Charlie Project. More than 2 decades later, Glenn Sheridan's disappearance stands as one of the quieter but persistent enigmas in cruise maritime history. His family has never received definitive answers, and the absence continues to haunt those closest to him. This incident is not isolated within Carnival's fleet. The 2020s have brought renewed attention to similar cases where passengers vanish with minimal explanation, often in the dead of night or during port stops, leaving families and authorities grasping for clarity. In 2023, for example, a passenger named Kevin McGrath disappeared from a Carnival ship that docked back in Miami on September 4. He was last seen the previous evening, with his keycard used at 3:30 a.m. No railing sensors were triggered, no witnesses came forward, and extensive searches yielded nothing. The circumstances echoed Sheridan's sudden, traceless, and unresolved. Other reports from recent years include frantic shipwide announcements in the early morning hours on vessels like the Carnival Celebration, the newer namesake launched in 2022, and Carnival Horizon. In late 2025, a 47-year-old American woman named Jessica Collins left the Horizon during a stop in Bonaire. She disembarked with her belongings, left a gratuity and a note for her stateroom attendant, and later communicated that she did not wish to be contacted further. Authorities investigated the voluntary departure, but it highlighted how easily someone can exit a ship without immediate detection. Additional vanishings tied to Carnival or similar lines have involved passengers who failed to return from excursions or who disappeared between islands. Advocacy organizations like International Cruise Victims maintain lists that include older cases such as the 2005 disappearance of an elderly couple, Hugh Pham and Hugh Tran, from the Carnival Destiny, where personal items were left behind on deck, and connect them to a broader pattern of undetermined outcomes at sea. Statistics compiled by cruise safety monitors and government agencies indicate that hundreds of individuals have gone overboard or gone missing from cruise ships worldwide since the mid-1990s, with a significant portion never recovered. Many involve U.S. citizens on American-based lines like Carnival. While some are later ruled accidents or intentional acts, a subset remains open, with no conclusive evidence. Modern ships now feature more extensive camera coverage, motion sensors on railings, and improved security protocols. Yet critics argue that response times, especially overnight, and the sheer scale of these floating cities still allow gaps where people can disappear unnoticed. Families of the missing have called for mandatory one-hour reporting of absences, higher barriers, and greater transparency from cruise operators. Glenn Sheridan's case, now over 20 years old, remains emblematic of these enduring questions. A man boards a ship for vacation, retires for the night beside his wife, and by morning is gone forever. No body surfaces, no explanation emerges, and the ocean retains its silence. Similar stories from the 2020s remind us that the vast waters surrounding these pleasure voyages conceal mysteries that time has yet to resolve. The search for answers for Glenn and for others continues, carried forward by those who refuse to let the disappearances fade into the horizon.